Okay, we should be live, and y'all know what we're going to do. If you're on Patreon, real quick, run over to Patreon. Let me get a post going that we are good to start this mock draft. I mean, usually these mock drafts, get going in about 15 seconds. But of course, thank you so much for coming, checking out the video. I mean, we have had so many people reaching out. I don't know if everybody has the Dynasty itch like I do. Y'all can tell how much fun I've been having talking Dynasty fantasy football being done with the season. I mean, we've had a Dynasty fantasy football video, or a live stream every single day for I don't know how long now. We're going to continue to do that all offseason. We just sent that link out there over on Patreon if you're wanting to hop in. And yeah, okay, those are getting claimed. Probably that lasted 30 seconds. So I hope that you're able to get in. We got Jordan, Derek, and Hurricane Lane. Hurricane Lane, someone that's been a part of the flock for a very long time out here in the draft. Let's just get this going. And real quick, I did not put this in the description of the Patreon post. So hopefully everybody is watching this live stream real quick. That's in this mock draft. But this is going to be a super flex, tight end premium, 12-team league where we are going to be selecting kickers. And you're going to see kickers going off the draft board. And one thing that I want everybody to do real quick, outside of dropping a like on this video, subscribing to the channel, and going and leaving a comment letting me know how damn bad my draft was, because I love it when y'all do that. But also down there in the comment section, you're going to see a lot of people going, why the hell is everybody taking kickers? And clearly they didn't watch the video. Clearly they didn't watch the live stream. And instead they just skimmed to the end of it to look at the draft board. So please, if you see people down there in the comment section that left a comment asking why people were taking kickers, roast the hell out of them. Be mean to them. Be vicious. We're letting the dogs out today, okay? Because I'm tired of seeing those. But let's get this going. And if you are unfamiliar with what kickers mean, if we decide to take a kicker at the 109 and we take that first kicker off the board, that means that's going to be the first rookie pick. So we are going to be getting the first rookie pick, the rookie pick 101 this offseason, which presumably, if this was a real league, we would then have that rookie draft directly after the NFL draft, like we do with all our real Patreon Dynasty leagues. Now here we got Jonathan Taylor 101, Josh Allen 102, Mahomes making it to the 103. You have to take Mahomes at the 101 in the Superflex format. I understand Mahomes was disappointing this past. It doesn't matter. I mean, a bad year from Patrick Mahomes. He's still a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. I mean, this is, I don't want to say it's taking Tom Brady at the beginning of his career, because obviously nobody's ever going to be Tom Brady yet again. And I say that as someone living in downtown Tampa right now. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, we're about to get a Bucs victory over the Los Angeles Rams, but nonetheless, just to be able to get that player at the 101 that you know is the generational talent that has such a high floor ceiling combination, I'm taking him over really anybody. And here, one mistake that I have to admit I made this past offseason is I was ranking Justin Jefferson over Jamar Chase. I mean, let's go and let's talk about all the receivers we ranked over Jamar Chase this past offseason, because I had Justin Jefferson ranked over him. Even after we had the Jamar Chase breakout at the very beginning of this season, he went over 200 receiving yards in a single game. I still stood by my I want to say it was the correct call at the time. Now, of course, it looks horrible. I still stood by my stance that Justin Jefferson was the wide receiver 1. You have Kyle Pitts at the 112. I actually think that Kyle Pitts in a tight end premium format, you can easily make the argument to take Kyle Pitts over almost any player here outside of the elite level quarterbacks and Jonathan Taylor. I think Kyle Pitts, I mean, while we weren't drafting him last year and instead we were taking Najee Harris, we were taking the player at the position that was going to produce right away. At this point, there are very few players I'd prefer over Kyle Pitts in Dynasty after he smashed his rookie season. Even though some people were disappointed by Kyle Pitts, I mean, I think that what you got was actually best case scenario. So there are a couple different players we could look at. We could look at Dak Prescott. I know a lot of people are down on Dak after, a pretty bad game against the 49ers. Running back, not going to lie, I think if you were to be the person taking Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon here, you are making a colossus mistake in taking a running back that is that far down their road already and passing up over one of the elite level quarterbacks. Or, even I'd prefer one of these foundational wide receivers like AJ Brown. In a tight end premium format, I'd prefer Mark Andrews. I would not come close to considering the Alvin Kamara, the Dalvin Cook. Honestly, even if they're available to us at the 309, I'm probably not going to be taking them. Here we are just going to end up going with Dak Prescott. We had him up in our queue. And y'all know that I'm a big Trey Lance fan. I can't take Trey Lance over Dak. And real quick, I don't know what I did, y'all. I don't know what I did. But we got almost 100 people watching this live stream, and we have 10 likes on the live stream. Are you kidding me? What? Go down there, please drop a like on the stream. What the hell are y'all doing? I don't know what I did to everybody here. And real quick, let me go through and get a link out to Patreon if anybody wants to go get access to our Dynasty rankings, which I actually need to pull up our Dynasty rankings so we're not going to embarrass ourselves. I mean, in rounds 4, 5, 6, while we're trying to live stream and draft the team at the same time. If I have my Dynasty rankings pulled up in a startup draft, usually I just love the way the team comes out. I mean, that last startup draft, we absolutely smashed. I was regretting our selection of Cam Akers in the 4th round, but I mean, looking back on it, after Cam Akers went just bananas against the Arizona Cardinals, I couldn't be more excited about that draft pick. So yeah, of course, if you want to go get our Dynasty rankings, if you want to hop in a Dynasty league with us, if you want to go through and just join the flock community. I mean, the largest Dynasty community that you are going to find. That can all be found on Patreon. I mean, the link will be in the description of the video, of course. I mean, as well as in the live chat. And I've seen a lot of people in our Patreon Discord chat going through and creating their own Dynasty leagues, even if it's not a flock Dynasty league. And of course, if you're in our Discord chat, feel free, especially on the Patreon side, to go through and get those Dynasty leagues going and send me the links to the Dynasty leagues. I'm not going to be able to play unless it's an official flock Patreon Dynasty league. But if a lot of people are part of the flock, get one going. I would love to see the draft board kind of just roast y'all and try to pick out what teams I like. Okay, so a Flappy Chapter says, for some reason, it unsubscribed me from your channel. I don't know why. Also, I didn't get a notification when you went live. I'm sorry, my friend. I have no idea why that happened. I mean, it's not like I'm going through and manually unsubscribing people from the channel. I think that would probably not be a good idea for the brand. But here you got DK Metcalf at the 208, Jalen Waddle at the 209. Let me know what y'all are thinking at this point. Let me know if you're going to go through and you're taking DK Metcalf over the rookie pick 101. I honestly think that if we're talking like, say, right now, if you pull up on Patreon, you go to my rookie rankings, and let me pull those up as well for everybody. But you'll see that I actually have Treylon Burks as our 101 at this moment. Now, of course, we still have a lot of the offseason to go. Those Dynasty rankings over there on Patreon, not only the startup rankings, but the rookie rankings as well. They're going to get consistently updated throughout the entire year. Now, if you were to ask me, Mason, who do you prefer in Dynasty, DK Metcalf or Treylon Burks? I'm going to be taking DK Metcalf. I mean, I think based on what we've seen with DK Metcalf, especially through the first 2 years of his NFL career, I know year 3 was a little bit down, but I mean, I think that you can safely say that DK Metcalf has shown that elite level ceiling. And obviously, I mean, you know the floor that you have with Metcalf at the same time, which is going to be higher than what you have from Treylon Burks, at least from the floor, because while Treylon Burks may look like he can't bust, I mean, in reality, of course, any rookie can come in and any rookie can disappoint. But if you say, Mason, would you rather have the rookie pick 101 or DK Metcalf? I'm probably taking the rookie pick 101. Just because with that rookie pick, you're going to have so much flexibility. I know a lot of people are roasting us for just using the word optionality over and over and over again, discussing this same concept with our last Dynasty startup draft, but truly just from the trade market perspective and also the ability to go through and after the NFL draft, evaluate everything that's happened. And of course, players are inherently just based on people discussing things in, say, our Patreon Discord chat or any Dynasty group chat on any Dynasty YouTube channel, on any Dynasty podcast. I mean, you know, the Dynasty marketplace is, I mean, all about momentum. Players are going to go up, players are going to go down. So if we could just have the optionality of that rookie pick 101, I think I would actually probably prefer that rookie pick 101 over a player like DK Metcalf. And I also love this value that you actually had with Big Drip here, taking Mark Andrews at the 212, getting Mark Andrews, I mean, behind a lot of these wide receivers that are older than him. And keep in mind, at the beginning of this live stream, we clarified that this is a tight end premium startup draft. So, I mean, if you're getting Mark Andrews here, I would assume in a 1.5 points per reception Dynasty league that he's actually going to be close to what you're getting from a points per game standpoint going forward to guys like Debo Samuel. And I know Debo Samuel, I mean, this is a wide receiver that was drafted in 2019, the same class as DK Metcalf. So it doesn't seem like he's that old. Debo Samuel stayed all 5 years at South Carolina. Can I see his age? Yeah, let me pull this up. I mean, he's 26 years old already. And if you're comparing that to Mark Andrews, I mean, who was drafted actually the year before, Mark Andrews was drafted in 2018, I believe. They're the exact same age, and I think in a tight end premium format, especially knowing how ugly tight end's going to get later on, love this value that you're getting with Mark Andrews at the 212. Let me see what we have for some people in the Gentle chat. James says YouTube's been wacky recently. I guess maybe not giving y'all those notifications. I'm sorry, guys. There's nothing I can do about YouTube not giving notifications. All you need to know is I'm going to upload a video every single day. And if you really want to get notified, I think you can hit the bell next to the subscribe button and turn it to, like, I think that there are 2 different settings. I don't know. I'm not the expert with YouTube here. But we also have another question coming out from Jacob. Says, when are you starting a Dynasty League? Okay, so for whatever reason, you're a part of the Patreon community and you do not know this by now. So we are hosting, we already have over 20 Dynasty Leagues on Patreon, but my number one priority right now is collecting all the league dues for those teams. And of course, I want to give everybody a part of those. Love seeing the Rookie Pick 101 go off the board here. I think from a value perspective, that's a fantastic selection. But nonetheless, let me make our pick here, then we'll dive into exactly when we're going to get our Dynasty startups going this offseason. At quarterback, there are some intriguing names. Running back, I guess there's actually probably... Yeah, I think the value's at running back here. Or the value could be taking the Rookie Pick 102. You got Trevor Lawrence going at the 308. I had someone reaching out to us on Patreon, and I was talking to them a couple days ago about Trevor Lawrence's value versus Zach Wilson. I can actually dive into that in a second. I apologize. I forgot who I was talking to on Patreon, though, about that. Okay, so I don't want to say all the players that I'm thinking about here, just given the fact that, we are going to be picking again in about 7 selections. And I know people are tired of hearing me talk about the optionality, but to take the 102 here, just from a pure trade value perspective, I want to treat this as a league that I would actually be playing in. I want to treat this as a real startup draft. I think there is merit to be just selecting the 102 and understanding that you're going to be able to trade it for what you want. And really, you have no risk of, say, maybe we take Saquon Barkley here, and then Saquon Barkley doesn't get the contract that we were expecting this offseason. Then all of a sudden, we're in a position where Saquon Barkley's, his value is going to be going down. You got Cam Akers at the 310. Cam Akers, from a talent perspective, is significantly better than any player in this draft class. If you threw Cam Akers in this rookie class, Cam Akers would be, significantly better than guys like Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker. However, it's the injury and also the fact that he's 3 years into his career, and really, I know we want to get excited based on what we saw, but I like the value more that we were getting with Cam Akers in our last startup when we were taking him at the end of the 4th here compared to taking him over the Rookie Pick 102. I believe he went after the Rookie Pick 104 in our last startup, and he definitely should rise based on what we saw at the end of the last game. Maybe I'm not reacting fast enough here with Akers. Love the Watson pick at the 312. I was considering taking Watson on the way back around at the 404. Okay, so T. Higgins at the 401. Love that T. Higgins selection as well. Evans here is just killing this draft. Has a young core that he can build around for, presumably the next 4 seasons. And how I don't want to dive into a full macro standpoint on Dynasty. Deontay Johnson here. I hate the Deontay Johnson selection. I'd prefer the 103 over Deontay Johnson. But y'all know, I am biased against Deontay just based off the fact that this is a player that went through and rained on my parade, severely with Juju Smith-Schuster. We lost a lot of money betting on Juju in Dynasty. And I think we're going to go through, and I hate to say this. I know we are crapping on the possibility of taking Dalvin Cook in the 2nd round. And there's a decent chance that based on us talking about that's the reason he's fallen this far in this startup draft. But if I am looking at my Dynasty rankings right now, the best option on the board is going to be Dalvin Cook. We currently have Dalvin Cook ranked as the running back 7 in the same tier as Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, and J.K. Dobbins. I have Dalvin Cook ranked 1 spot ahead of Saquon Barkley. Now, it's not an inherent, it's not a natural fit on this roster. If you're looking at Dalvin Cook and this Rookie Pick 102, but keep in mind, a big reason that we selected that Rookie Pick 102 is we're going to have the ability to go through, and if this was a real league, and I'm treating it as if it was, because if I didn't treat it like it was a real league, then this is going to help nobody here. Then I think that based on the trade value alone, once we get the rookie hype going in March, and trust me, I know at this point, a lot of people are out of this rookie draft class for, a good reason. This class does not look like it's that talented. But just go back to what we have had before in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Go back to the 2016 draft class when you got guys like Corey Coleman, Josh Doxson. Flying up draft boards. You have Laquan Treadwell. And that's just because, people just spend the entire offseason talking about these rookies. People are going to spend the entire offseason talking about, who do you want? Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Treylon Burks, who are the top 3 guys in my dynasty rankings right now. And just when you go through and you talk about why you want Treylon Burks, why you want Drake London, why you want Garrett Wilson over and over and over and over again, inherently those players are going to move up draft boards. Those players are going to increase in value. I mean, compared to someone like Stephon Diggs, where not many people in your dynasty group chat are going to be talking about Stephon Diggs. There aren't going to be many videos made about Stephon Diggs this offseason because everybody knows exactly who Stephon Diggs is, and he's an elite level wide receiver. And that's not to say that you shouldn't invest in a player like that. However, it is to say that if we're projecting the dynasty marketplace and how it's going to change over the next 200 days when we don't have to submit a starting lineup, I actually like, the prospect of that 102 increasing value a little bit more. Okay. So now we have Nick Chubb going at the 407. And I'll say real quick, after we took Dalvin Cook, my best available running back on the board would have been Saquon Barkley. Barkley is still available. You got Justin Fields at the 409. I think Justin Fields is a much better price at the 409 compared to where people were taking him at the end of last offseason when people were pushing him up to the beginning of the second round, where we wanted a guy like Trey Lance, where I love getting Lance here as soon as we have Dak Prescott off the board. Justin Fields, y'all know we were crapping all over the value when he was going at the beginning of the second round, when he was going ahead of Trey Lance, but to get him here at the 409, I think it's fine. I think that if Justin Fields was placed in this class, he probably would be the quarterback 1. That's not to say that I'm going to prefer him over, say, a player like Kenny Pickett. If Kenny Pickett goes in the top 5, then we'll probably just reset the button and try to hit on a new guy. Okay, you have the rookie pick 103 going. Okay, so this is how you got to view it. We've had a ton of questions on Patreon as well, asking how to value rookie picks at this time of the offseason in Dynasty Startup Drafts, just like we're doing. That's a big reason why I want to include these kickers like this. If you go into a trade right now and I say, hey, John, I'll trade you, Terry McLaurin, just give me the rookie pick 103. What are you telling me? You're going to tell me to F off. Yeah, at least you should. You should prefer in a super flex tight end premium format to have that rookie pick 103 over a guy like Terry McLaurin, at least in my opinion. Now you get Travis Etienne at the 501. Okay, so let me get back to what we were talking about. I'm so sorry, but talking about when we were starting those Patreon Dynasty Leagues. So my number 1 priority is to collect all the league dues for everybody returning to Patreon Dynasty Startup just leagues this offseason. And I've set the hard cap on that for Super Bowl Sunday. So Super Bowl Sunday is going to be the day that everybody has to have their dues in. And if you don't have your dues in, your team is then available to be in an just a straight up orphan or in a dispersal draft. I haven't decided what we're going to be doing yet with those teams that are being left behind on Patreon. Then I'm going to be offering all those teams and giving away those spots at a discounted price to everybody on Patreon. If you want to go and you want to take over 10 orphan teams across the 20 flock leagues, you are more than welcome to do it, and I beg you to do so. And once we have all those teams filled and we have all those current leagues sorted out, then we are going to be begin to fill up those dynasty startups for this offseason. And hopefully, I don't know how many total dynasty leagues we're going to be able to get going, but I'm excited to kind of see that play out. Barkley at the 504. Love this value with Saquon Barkley. We've had a lot of questions about Barkley as of late. This is a running back that should get a big contract this offseason. This is a running back that was very disappointing at the end of the year, but he was playing in the worst offense in the NFL. He had Mike Glennon as his starting quarterback, and I know he was split in the backfield with Devontae Booker, which of course is very concerning, but at the end of the day, if you're going through and just deploying those running, are you going to give Saquon Barkley in a contract season just 90% of the snaps coming off of 2 injury played years when you have nothing to play for? I don't think a coaching staff should decide to do that with Barkley. Now, if I'm pulling up my dynasty rankings, I actually think that probably running backs the best value at this point as well. Actually, Calvin Ridley's. I know everybody hates it when I take Calvin Ridley in these startups. Obviously, Calvin Ridley left a horrible taste in everybody's mouth. I think Calvin Ridley's our best value. Calvin Ridley I've ranked as the wide receiver 12 in Dynasty. I have him in the same tier as T. Higgins, DJ Moore, and Chris Godwin. I understand that Ridley, yes, disappointed everyone this past year, but he's still young. He was drafted in that same class with DJ Moore. He's a little bit older than DJ Moore because, he didn't get to Alabama until he was like 20 years old, which is something very weird. Running back, our best available running back on the board here would be I believe, David Montgomery at running back 14. And then we have Derrick Henry at running back 15. Looking at our dynasty rankings, we need to skyrocket Cam Akers now that he's proven that he can come back healthy. I think that you could have a strong argument to be made to take one of these veteran running backs. However, I'm going to take my guy that I think is one of the best buy low wide receivers in dynasty right now, still in his prime. And this is a player that was being drafted at the end of the first round in redraft leagues this past offseason. So we're getting Calvin Ridley here as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We're getting him as the 18th receiver off the board whenever I have him ranked as our wide receiver 12 in Dynasty. I'm going to be completely fine with that. Thomas says, I had to go with Devonta Smith before Ridley. My team is too young. Okay, let's check this out to go Devonta Smith. Okay, so Lance, Lamar, Antonio Gibson. I honestly think that you could go Ridley here. I think that this is a team that's looking to be competitive right away. I mean, if you look at our roster, keep in mind, you have 200 days to go through and maximize trade value and kind of construct your team how you want it. So if you wanted to kind of just shape this up with the value to be a competitive team in 2022, you can still go through with these very young assets. A guy like, I want to say Greg Zuerlein. Okay, we're changing this pick. There's no way in hell that was an auto draft pick, and there's no way in hell anybody would take Tua Tagovailoa there. So I'm sorry that we're going to manually change that, but we're going to go through and we're going to be taking Derrick Henry. I'd be very surprised if anybody in Dynasty is taking Tua Tagovailoa over Derrick Henry. So I'm sorry if Connor or if Evans wanted Henry, but that was the pick that was going off the board in 9 out of 10 Dynasty leagues. So we definitely have to fix that. You got David Montgomery going at the 5'11". With David Montgomery, I think comparing him to Derrick Henry, obviously, is just a conversation about the age of the running backs and who you're going to prefer. I know Derrick Henry at this point, everybody's going to be freaking out saying it's the best value in the draft. And while, yes, it is a very good value, at the end of the day, Derrick Henry is a 28-year-old running back. He's coming off a workload that not many people have seen before. And at the same time, coming off an injury-plagued season as well. Dylan says, where do you think Ridley will be next season? I have no idea. If I had to make a bet, we'll let Tua Tagovailoa go off the board here at the 603, especially when you get Tom Brady going off, quarterbacks drying up a little bit here. And I'm going to go through and I'm actually going to take TJ Hawkinson, especially in the tight end premium format. This is later than where TJ Hawkinson was going in startups last offseason. And if you look at what TJ Hawkinson did this year, Hawkinson was fantastic and one of the worst offenses in the entire NFL. Now, I know that he dealt with a decent amount of injuries, which is something that's plagued him since 2019, his rookie season. But still, if you look at a points per game format in a tight end premium format, which keep in mind, this is a tight end premium league, the only tight ends that scored more points on a points per game format than Hawkinson, not even taking out the weeks that he was injured. Gronk, Darren Waller, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, and Mark Andrews. And with TJ Hawkinson at the same time, you know that these tight ends, they shouldn't produce right away. He's only 24 years old. He's drafted in 2019, same class out of the same school as Noah Fant. He was a great prospect coming into the NFL. You've seen the natural progression from a points per game standpoint of him through the first 3 years of his NFL career. So TJ Hawkinson in a tight end premium format, love that. We have a very balanced team so far. Don't necessarily think that we're going into every draft saying, okay, we need to get 2 receivers, a running back, a tight end. Here, if I thought the value on the board was wide receiver, we would have taken 10 wide receivers in a row, just given the fact that we don't have to start someone for 200 days. We have 200 days just to maximize trade value. But I think that TJ Hawkinson, Calvin Ridley, they're just going to be the best values. Okay. Okay, Red says, does Hawkinson have more upside than Kittle and Kelce based on his age? I would say he has more upside to move up dynasty rankings. I don't necessarily think he has more upside to score points this upcoming season, just especially looking at the fact what you've already seen from Kittle, what you've already seen from Kelce. And I'll say, you're never going to get TJ Hawkinson to match the 2020 Travis Kelce season. It's simply not happening. So we can say that Kelce does have more upside based on what we've already seen. But if we're just talking about upside for dynasty value next offseason, Hawkinson could eventually work his way into being in this Kyle Pitts 1-2 turn pick. That's realistic. Actually, probably not. Kyle Pitts is a little bit of a unicorn, just that he has the dynasty hype. I think TJ Hawkinson, where we've historically seen him go back-to-back with Andrews, you can almost see the upside for him to work his way up to being a late second, early third round pick in a format like this. Okay, Devin coming out says, thoughts on Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Michael Carter. If I'm pulling up my dynasty rankings right now, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire 1 tier higher than Michael Carter. To be honest, and this is one thing that I'm actually going to be looking for in the NFL playoffs. We had a question on Patreon. I believe it was 2 days ago. It was a trade question of, do we want Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Travis Etienne? And if you pull up our Dynasty rankings, currently I have Travis Etienne ranked one slot higher than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But I went through and I got back to that guy and said, honestly, can I have a little bit of time to think? I said, I prefer Etienne at the moment, but can we see the game on Sunday? Can we see the Kansas City Chiefs play the Buffalo Bills? Because I really want to see how the Kansas City Chiefs decide to deploy Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming off a game where Jerick McKinnon, looked like the best running back in Kansas City all season. And it's the most important game that you have of this Kansas City Chiefs offense all year. So I'm really interested to see if they decide to go out there and play Clyde Edwards-Helaire 80% of the snaps. If they do decide to do that, I'm going to be much more bullish on Clyde Edwards-Helaire going forward. Whereas if we go into this week and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is supposedly healthy and all of a sudden Clyde Edwards-Helaire splits the backfield with Jerick McKinnon, I'm possibly just all out. And real quick, if you have not done so already, let's get this live stream over 100 likes. Please, for the love of God, go down there and drop a like on the live stream. Nobody is uploading, as much Dynasty content as we are. Nobody enjoys Dynasty as much as I do. Okay, so you have DeAndre Hopkins going at the 6'11". With DeAndre Hopkins, I know we've had some pushback on Patreon with where I've ranked him. I have him in the same tier alongside Hollywood Brown and Michael Pittman. I just think that it's the exact opposite end of the spectrum with someone like Derrick Henry versus DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins is actually older. Hopkins came into the NFL, I believe, in that 2013 draft class, whereas Derrick Henry came into the NFL in 2016. However, if you're just looking at the longevity of the wide receiver position, I'm actually much more willing to go through and buy the dip on just DeAndre Hopkins coming off an injury play season, the first of his entire career at an older age at the receiver position than I would be at running back with Derrick Henry. Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes to the 706. I do like that value with CEH. Okay, so if we're looking at our players that are best available on the board right now, we have Zeke, Leonard Fournette, and Aaron Jones all ranked in the same tier and all ranked back to back, which is funny because if you look at their ADP here, actually their ADP is a little bit skewed. Leonard Fournette is, about 20 picks behind Aaron Jones in ADP, but we have them ranked back to back. And then if we're going over, A.J. Dillon goes to the 708. Interesting, we have A.J. Dillon ranked one tier below. Let me go over to the quarterback position. We got Cousins, Ryan Tannehill. Okay, what rookie pick are we on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're on the rookie pick 107. Let me double check. So 1, 2, we took the 102, the 103, 4, 5, 6. I think we may take another rookie pick here. Like if you're asking me right now in a super flex format, knowing that quarterbacks are going to get, hell yeah. Do I prefer Damian Harris to the 107? Do I prefer Amari Cooper or Michael Thomas to the 107? Rashad Bateman to the 107? Dallas Goedert to the 107? Yeah, I think we take the 107. And I don't think we really have to think about this too much at all. Let's go Zane Gonzalez here. Okay. Gobber goes Kadarius Toney. Is that a pick that we need to change? Or is that reasonable? I think most people would... You know what? I'm changing it. I'm going to change it to what I would perceive most people to do. I think most people here are going to go with Amara St. Brown. I could be wrong with the St. Brown hype, but based on what I've seen on Patreon, based on people arguing with me about his ranking, I think most people would prefer St. Brown there. Okay, so let's go through. Johnny says Kyler over Joey B is wild. I would prefer Kyler Murray if it was a 4-point passing touchdown format and Joe Burrow if it's a 6-point passing touchdown format. I know everybody and their mom prefers Joe Burrow. I understand it, but I think in a 4-point passing touchdown league, I'd prefer the quarterback that's shown us a little bit more with his rushing touchdown upside. Johnny says Rodgers 2 rounds ahead of Tom Brady, ? I honestly don't hate it. Trust me, I'm literally living in downtown Tampa. Outside my window is the apartment that Gronk lives in. The condo, not apartment, but nonetheless. If we're looking this up, Aaron Rodgers, is 38? Let me double check. I believe it's 38 compared to 44. Yeah, Rodgers just turned 38, and Tom Brady's 44. I know Brady's fantastic. I know nobody has ever done what Tom Brady's doing. But still, what are we talking about here? Okay, I think we're going to go with another rookie pick. I think the rookie picks are the best value on the board. Now we're in the 108, or do we go QB? You know what? We're going to go Tannehill. I think Tannehill is one of the last guys on the board, literally the last quarterback on the board that has a safe job coming into this next season. One of the reasons that we decided to pass on quarterback a little bit earlier is just given the fact that we knew that we could get Ryan Tannehill so late as we did in the last startup mock draft as well. So we're going to get Tannehill here in the auto drafter. And please, if you're going to join these drafts, don't auto draft. I mean, he did take Kadarius Toney, which I think we can leave Kadarius Toney on the way back around. I didn't want him to have Kadarius Toney over Amara St. Brown, though, because I know that most people prefer St. Brown. Okay. Trevor says, thoughts on Big Drip's team. Loved the value at the 2-3 turn here. Rodgers at the 4-12, taking Rodgers over who else at quarterback? I mean, yeah, I think Rodgers was the best quarterback available on the board. If I'm looking at my own dynasty rankings, I have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback 13 in the same tier as Russell Wilson and Trevor Lawrence because, as we've said so many times before, age does not matter at the quarterback position. So don't really think that we need to have Lawrence that much ahead of Rodgers. And then if we're looking at where we had guys like Justin Fields, Mac Jones, I have them literally one tier below. I have Aaron Rodgers quarterback 13, Mac Jones quarterback 14, Justin Fields quarterback 15. And I think that if it was a 4-point passing touchdown format, you could talk yourself into going Justin Fields over Mac Jones based off rushing upside. Travis Etienne at the 501. With Travis Etienne and Cam Akers, I need to move them up our dynasty rankings over there on Patreon based on the James Robinson injury as well as Cam Akers looking fantastic. But I mean, here we technically have Travis Etienne behind some of these other running backs. I have Travis Etienne for the moment behind Joe Mixon, behind Saquon Barkley. I actually definitely would prefer these running backs over Travis Etienne, even though y'all know I'm a big Travis Etienne fan. I think that he's very similar to DeAndre Swift and why we love DeAndre Swift last year as well. Yes, he's on a horrible offense. I mean, we know he's going to get the high value touches, so it doesn't matter as much. I think Etienne was a little bit of a reach looking at Mike Evans and Keenan Allen at the 6-7 turn. If we're talking about our wide receiver rankings and where we have them, I have Mike Evans as our wide receiver 22, Keenan Allen as our wide receiver 25 in the same tier. And you know what? There's one player that hasn't gone off the board. Oh, no, Brandon Ayuk goes to the 707. I was going to say, is Ayuk still available? There's no way. If so, we have him way too high in our dynasty rankings based off of market value. But yeah, no, I'm completely fine with this team. I think the one thing I could point out is maybe Travis Etienne's a little bit of a reach. I definitely prefer Saquon Barkley. I mean, especially if you're looking at our tiers. Okay, so Tom says, Mason, would you trade the 110 and Chris Godwin for the 103? No, I'm not doing that. I mean, like, look at the value of those players in this mock draft. Now, of course, this is just the mock draft, but I mean, trading Chris Godwin and the 110 to get to the 103 when there isn't that clear top tier just yet, I don't see the reason for it. I mean, here in this mock draft, Chris Godwin went before the 103. You have the 103 going after Chris Godwin. I don't think that is something I can get behind, but I definitely can't get behind throwing on the 110 to get up there. Okay, let me check something else. Johnny says he feels like Trevor went quick. Yeah, let me talk about what we actually had as a conversation on Patreon a couple days ago. Is if you're looking at that Trevor Lawrence value compared to Zach Wilson, keep in mind, I'm the guy that the second that you had Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and Zach Wilson as disappointing quarterbacks this past year, we went through and we said to sell low. We looked historically at the adjusted yards per attempt of the quarterbacks and looked at the historical comparisons, and literally, unless they were Josh Allen, and everybody and their mom wants to go through and point towards Josh Allen and say, hell, look, Justin Fields failed, but Josh Allen failed his rookie year as well. Oh my gosh, are we really playing that game? You're going to look at a list of 20 quarterbacks that failed, and you're going to cherry pick the one guy that was in that bucket that ended up being a success and think that you are so talented that you can go through and you can evaluate who that next guy is. I'm not playing that game. I think that if you fail as a rookie and you fall in a very bad bucket, you should be losing a considerable amount of dynasty value this offseason. Now, with that being said, y'all know I went through and said we're selling all these quarterbacks, especially Zach Wilson. I said we were selling Zach Wilson low. But if you're looking at the points per game right now, there's not much of a difference between any of these guys. Now, Justin Fields is a little bit skewed because you had Justin Fields playing a bunch of half games. Not even going to look at that. But if we're looking at Zach Wilson compared to Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, the quarterback 36. And if you would remove the one game that Zach Wilson left early with an injury, Zach Wilson outproduced Trevor Lawrence on a points per game basis. If you're looking at their actual statistics, I don't want to bring up their just yards per attempt. They almost had identical rookie seasons. And yes, of course, you can place a ton of blame on Urban Meyer for the failures of Jacksonville. But as I've said time and time again, it's not as simple as you just go through and you replace the coach and you have, a completely different situation going forward. It's much easier said than done. Okay, so now if we were going to be picking here, is Aaron Jones really this far down? Aaron Jones signed a pretty nice contract if you're looking at the guaranteed money. Wide receiver, our best wide receiver on the board, I'd imagine. Let me pull this up. I think Lockett's our best. Is Mike Williams still available? No, Mike Williams just went. Yeah, we have Tyler Lockett as wide receiver 34. We have him behind Tony, Renfro, Amara St. Brown. Mike Williams, I believe, is the best option on the board at wide receiver. Considering this is a tight end premium format, I think it's viable to go tight end here. We're either going Aaron Jones or Miles Sanders. We're trying to see. I think we have Aaron. Yeah, we definitely have Aaron Jones ranked higher. Why am I even checking? We're going to go Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones at the 909. I'm sorry. That's too good a value. We're having to take Aaron Jones there. We got Zeke going at the 906 as well. Gosh dang. I know Zeke looked bad this offseason, but to have Zeke going at the 906 when you're probably going to get Tony Pollard the following round, like to have Zeke and Pollard going in back-to-back rounds, that's just absurd. I don't think we can have that. Okay, Sergio coming out says, after the injury, Zach Wilson outproduced both Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields by 5 points per game. I don't want to be cutting it off halfway through the season because, if you're cutting it off halfway through the season, you're looking at a smaller sample. It's not fair to go through and do that to Trevor Lawrence and to do that to Justin Fields. I would rather just look at the entire year because it's not like we have any excuses on what you can be taking out for Zach Wilson. What I would say is the 1 week that you could take out for Wilson is you can take out, I believe that's week 7 that he ended up going down with that injury where he only scored 2.04 points. So if you want to take out that week, I'm fine with it. But for us to draw an arbitrary line saying after the injury, I don't necessarily think that's doing anybody favors. Oh crap, we are on the board real quick. Okay. We may end up going Lockett. Quarterback, yeah, none of these guys are guaranteed starts next year. What rookie pick we're on? We're probably going to go Lockett. I just want to double check the rookie picks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, I thought we took the 108. Let's just call this the 108. 109, 110, 111. Do we want Tyler Lockett or the 112 this year? I think probably my perception skewed just because technically in the first round. You know what? I'm going to treat this. Oh, god dang. Okay, there. Yeah, we got it. We got the pick. So we're going to take the 111, 112, whatever the hell that is. And the reason we're doing that is just based on trade value. I'm treating this, and I understand it's going to make the screenshot at the end of the draft look a lot worse having another kicker there instead of a receiver. But I'm treating this as if it's a real league that I was going through and I was drafting. I had real money on the line, and we were going to be able to make trades after the NFL draft, or even after the NFL Combine, because after the Combine, that's when the rookie hype should be in full effect. That's how I'm going to treat this at this point. And I think based off trade value alone, that rookie pick, if it's the 112, 111, whatever it may be, is eventually going to work its way up to being, a better asset than Tyler Lockett. Looking at Rondale Moore going in the same round. With Rondale Moore, he was actually going in the middle of the second round this past year. Rondale Moore was a player that was going at like the 203, 204, if memory serves correct. He fails as a rookie. So why is he now all of a sudden worth more? Even though it's a worse draft class, of course. You got Damian Harris, Devin Singletary. I think this is a fair value on Damian Harris. Y'all know that I'm a noted Damian Harris hater, going through talking about the fact that, his PFF rating doesn't matter at all if he's going to be a committee running back. However, if you're getting him at the 1009, I'm completely fine with that value on Damian Harris. Allen Robinson falling down to the 1012. Johnny says, Dobbins over Akers, ? Honestly, I would prefer Dobbins over Akers as well. Trust me, and I had Akers as our dynasty running back 4 coming into the season. I have always been, especially in that 2020 draft class as well. We were getting Cam Akers like the 107 every single time, just given the way the tiers shaped up. We traded for that 107 pick and just had Cam Akers falling in our lap almost every draft. But that injury still is pretty damn bad. I know we can mainly ignore it, But still, I'm going to be a little bit more comfortable with J.K. Dobbins over Akers. I think in our Dynasty rankings, if you pull those up right now, we have Cam Akers way too low. We have him as our running back 16. That's mainly based off when we made these rankings. Let me look at the last update. It was 11 days ago. So we need to go through, probably update these. I'll wait until after the divisional game, so I'll probably update these on Monday. But I was a little bit more concerned about the injury before we had actually been able to see him go on the field. And oh my gosh, my friend Will, I hate this pick to take Cordell Patterson here. I know Cordell Patterson's a unicorn of a player, but how often do you get a player that has seen opportunity every year of his NFL career essentially, and he breaks out at 30 years old? How often does that player actually go through and maintain as a consistent option? I'd prefer Juju. I would prefer Adam Thielen. I'd prefer Michael Gallup. I'd prefer Irv Smith Jr. I believe this is the 201 or the 202. Yeah, I can't get behind that whatsoever. Baker Mayfield goes to the 1108. Daniel Jones, Davis Mills. I'm fine with Daniel Jones here, to be honest. I know that the Giants have 2 picks where they could go quarterback. I think we're going to go Daniel Jones. A big thing with Daniel Jones is, yes, he looks very bad, but at the end of the day, like if we're looking at Daniel Jones versus Baker Mayfield, neither quarterback has job security coming into this next season. I'm actually going to give the edge to Daniel Jones based off of what we've seen with his rushing upside. We've actually seen Daniel Jones be a quarterback that can get up to 30, 40 rushing yards a game, which is a massive difference, even if he's going to be someone that doesn't look great from an NFL perspective. And also, the second that he went down, and you had Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm starting for New York as well, that offense went from being a very bad offense to literally the worst offense in the NFL. Okay, so let's go through, find our next. Let me pull up my Patreon rankings. Just check out. I think Robert Woods will be our best option at the wide receiver position. I'm just double checking. Yeah, if we look at our rankings right now, we're going to have Robert Woods as wide receiver 39. We actually have him ahead of some other options that have already gone off the board, like, Brandon Cooks. I have him ahead of Rondale Moore. They are in the same tier. I have Robert Woods ahead of Allen Robinson as well. Of course, it's concerning that injury was later on in the year, and we don't know what the situation is going to look like going into next season. But from a talent perspective, Robert Woods has it. As I've said time and time again, I'm going to be willing to bet on these 29, 30-year-old wide receivers. I'm willing to just go through and take the discount on them a lot more than I'm willing to take the discount on someone like Derrick Henry at the 5'10". Even though I know we did take one of those veteran running backs, we took Aaron Jones at the 909. But keep in mind, Aaron Jones, this is A, someone I've talked to on FaceTime before. I had a mutual friend with Aaron Jones, and B, at the same time, this is a massive discount compared to where you were getting him just a few months ago. Red Recliner says, is Tyler Huntley a good reach? No. I know in theory, yes, it's fun to say that he was good enough to possibly be a starting quarterback. Like, where is he starting? Like, are the Cleveland Browns going to call up Tyler Huntley? The Baltimore Ravens say, hey, we'll give you a 4th round pick, send us over Tyler Huntley, and we're going to start Tyler Huntley over Baker. Maybe it's not happening. Especially knowing that there are rookies coming in. With Tyler Huntley, he is just a handcuff quarterback. I would rather have a early 2nd round rookie pick. I'd rather have a mid 2nd round rookie pick over Tyler Huntley. Yeah, Davis Mills going to the 1208. Trey Sermon at the 1207. I cannot get behind the Sermon selection. I think with Sermon, it's a decent idea to go through and just have him as a throw-in in deals. Like if you want to go and trade, say, Travis Kelce, and you want to trade Travis Kelce and get a little bit younger at the position, get TJ Hawkinson in the 2nd round pick. Hell, also ask for Trey Sermon to be thrown in at the same time. Gronk goes at the 1210. Love that value with Gronk in a tight end premium format. If you're looking at Gronk only 6 months older than what you have with Travis Kelce. And real quick, before this draft ends, hopefully Sleeper doesn't boot us out of this. One thing that I really want to point out is I think Tony Pollard at this point is actually being overvalued in Dynasty. If you're looking at where Pollard's going here, ahead of someone like Miles Sanders, ahead of 1st round rookie picks, I can't get behind it in that let's compare this value that you had with Tony Pollard to what you may end up looking at with someone like Alexander Mattison. Because in my opinion, they are in identical situations where if you're looking at Tony Pollard, this is a running back that is, probably, I don't want to say the most premium handcuff running back, that if Zeke goes down, Pollard obviously becomes a top 5 option, because Alexander Mattison is in that same exact situation. And I understand that here with Tony Pollard, this is a running back that looked better than Ezekiel Elliott. I will agree with you on that one. And he has a consistent role every single week. However, is that role large enough for you to be able to actually go through and start Tony Pollard any week that Ezekiel Elliott's healthy? It's not. No, you can't start Tony Pollard if he's getting you 8 carries in a game. While maybe it's fun to see him actually go out there and play on Sunday, he's not startable unless Ezekiel Elliott goes down. And if you look at the Ezekiel Elliott contract, he's guaranteed to be in Dallas. So if Zeke is guaranteed to be in Dallas this next season, and by the time that Zeke, is cuttable on that contract, Tony Pollard isn't even signed to the Dallas Cowboys. And I know he looked good enough in theory to go and get a starting job elsewhere. But the amount of times that you actually see that happen in the NFL, where a running back flashes in with their rookie contract, doesn't get a large opportunity to be the starter in his own offense, and then all of a sudden, goes sign somewhere else, signs to Jacksonville to be the starter. It never really happens, to be completely honest. So, if you're looking at Tony Pollard, if you're looking at Alexander Mattison, I think they're in identical situations. They're premium handcuff running backs that if the starter goes down in front of them, then all of a sudden they're top 5 running backs in fantasy. So I don't necessarily see why we should be drafting Tony Pollard, ahead of first-round picks where you can get Alexander Mattison 5 rounds later. I think that people are probably a little bit too optimistic with Tony Pollard. But, of course, thank you so much for everybody coming out and hanging out with us in the live stream. I really hope that y'all enjoyed this stream. And, of course, here is the draft board. If anybody wants to go through, take a screenshot, let us know how bad we did. And like I said, I think that actually should be it. I hope you have a great day and hope we get to see you